Alright, here we are on to the second turn of the Case Blue scenario in Blocks in the East. Not a whole lot has changed from our last look. Well, I guess some has changed in that more Russian units are dead. As you can see, the Russian line essentially is still non-existent. Closer here. Along this southern stretch here, there was kind of a pocket here after that first turn. Some more of those units got eliminated. The rest of them are falling back towards Stalingrad, where I will try and rebuild units and reestablish a line. Down here in Crimea, I was able to swing around here, blitz or use armor exploitation to get this tank out here, and was able to take, what is this, Krasnodar? Yeah, was able to take Krasnodar relatively easily. This unit here had been in Novorossiysk, I guess, however you pronounce that. He was able to be in supply because this anchor here allows you to supply. It's a limited supply source via sea, so allows one unit to be supplied. The two units that were here on the other side of the Kerch Straits were hemmed in by these swamps here, and couldn't get back into supply, and so had to surrender. Supply rules are pretty brutal. If you can't get in supply that turn, you're dead. So the Russians lost 2 more units there. This guy ran into the mountains. Until the Germans actually take this city, he can be 3 hexes away and still be in supply from that sea hex. So naturally the Germans are most likely to move somebody in there as quickly as they can, which will just put this guy out of supply unless he can try and run his way, but he can only move 1 hex per turn basically. Because those mountains take 3 movement points, and infantry has 3 movement points. So he would be very slowly attempting to get out of there, and probably will not make it. Built some more units, a couple units down there in this Batum here, I think. Yeah, built a unit there. Built some units in Stavropol, or built a unit in Stavropol. Another one up in Stalingrad. So trying to rebuild that line. Strategically moving more units down there isn't really feasible because I'm using all of my production points per turn to either rebuild understrength units or repair understrength units or rebuild dead units. So I can't even move, use strategic movement to get guys moved around. I can use Stalin's command points to move those guys around, but otherwise all that money is basically being spent elsewhere. So the Germans are starting to form this kind of big bulge here that obviously is eventually going to stretch out to Stalingrad. The Russians right now incapable of really hitting it with anything. I'm looking for isolated spots where I can try and hit single German counters with multiple Russian counters. But for the most part, the Russians are just kind of sitting back and not attacking anywhere as I try and rebuild or repair their mostly damaged units. Most of the Germans are actually at full strength. I did lose a couple steps on some of these frontline units and attacks along the line here. Those will be repaired the next German production phase turn. We just finished the July turn, heading into August. The victory conditions for the Germans are they have to take Leningrad, Moscow, Stalingrad, and Baku, and hold 2 out of those 4 cities by the end through the end of the game. So, or through the last turn, which is the 7th turn, the November 42 turn. Leningrad, I just don't have the force up there to take it. I don't think with the fortress, and unless I can get cut the supply road to Leningrad, which again, I don't really have the force to do that either. Same thing with Moscow. It's going to be a tough nut to crack getting through that defense in depth around Moscow, which means I have to take Stalingrad, which is right there, and then Batum, which is way over there, or Baku rather, not Batum, and hold those. So my focus, as it was historically, is going to be on Stalingrad and Baku. The question is, will I be able to get there in time? This is the end of the second turn, and I've made it barely farther than Crimea. This is the extent of my southern advance there, which is into Baku, or not Baku, not Krasnodar, the Maikop oil fields. So, am I going to be able to get there in? I mean, it's literally going to take to actually march there. That's pretty much 4 more turns right there. So, it's if I do manage to get there, I'm going to be arriving on the very last turn of the game. So, as much as the Germans are sort of romping through the southern front here against the Russians, it is going to be very difficult for them to actually win the scenario. Now, I could take Stalingrad, and maybe if I don't get to Baku and don't take Moscow or Leningrad, I just take Stalingrad and hold that. Then it becomes a marginal Axis victory. So, they're still marginal. To be decisive, I need to get 2 of the 4 main cities of the offensive there. So, will the Germans be able to do that? Will the Russians be able to throw up enough of a reserve force there near Stalingrad to actually hold off the Germans long enough to prevent that German decisive victory or even marginal victory? If the Russians can boot them out of Stalingrad and keep them out of Moscow and Leningrad, which again, as the Germans, I'm not even remotely focusing on those. It's almost entirely a holding action in the north. Then the Russians can hang on for that marginal victory, or even have their own marginal victory by denying any of those cities. So we will see how things go into the next turn. The Germans are going to be making their big turn southeast towards Stalingrad, here in that bulge in their line, and there are a lot of tanks scattered along that front, and I may move these tanks actually down and start swinging them around to kind of extend that line out towards Stalingrad there. So we will see how that goes.